Do you replay conversations, overanalyze situations, and get stuck in the same thoughts over and over again? And it doesn't matter how hard you try, you just can't switch off. You need to get a big switch that you can just switch it off. Well, here's the truth, okay? Rumination is not a lack of control. It's your brain trying to protect you, just in a way that's no longer helping. You know, some of our thought patterns and anxieties and such like are really quite primitive. So our brain tries to keep us safe all the time. So hi, I'm Cheryl and I own Your Time to Shine Therapy. I'm a therapist who works with people struggling with anxiety, overthinking and persistent thought loops. If you have ever replayed something you said or did for hours or days, overanalyzed every possible outcome, or felt mentally exhausted from thinking too much, then I want you to know you're not alone. I suffered with this for such a long time, and to a certain point I still do, but now I can recognise it and I can start to unpick it and see what's actually going on underneath that. But I would play scenarios back in my mind of things that I've done, you know, and they're not necessarily really bad things, but it's just things that have played on my mind that has made me feel guilty, and trying to understand what that guilt or where that guilt has come from. And it took me a while. It really did take me a while to be able to process these thoughts and understand why I kept playing them over and over again. And for me, it was a way of trying to punish myself for the thing that I did. And it was quite personal. It's quite a long story, and you might have heard some of the story before because I do talk about it quite a lot. But I had a fallout with my mum, which in turn made me stop speaking to my daughter, because me and her had a big fallout. And the outcome of that was that I didn't get to see my grandchildren. And it destroyed me, and it still does to a certain point. But I played this loop over and over again. You know, and the reasons why I didn't fight to see them and take it to court was because I didn't want them to be dragged through some horrible situation. I just thought it was easier if I just walked away, which is what I did, and it killed me. It really did kill me. And sometimes it still comes and gives me a slap right face, you know, and makes me feel guilty about it. But I can handle it better now. And this is because I've done such a lot of the work that I do with my clients now to get myself better and to make myself feel less guilty about things. The reason why I share this with you is because I want people to know that I'm not just a therapist who's done the courses and the training and all that kind of stuff, but it's something that I've actually been through myself, so I actually know what it feels like, you know, and how to get past that. In this video, I'm going to explain why your brain keeps ruminating, what's really driving these thought loops, and how I can help clients interrupt them without feeling shame. By the end of this video, you'll understand your mind differently, and that alone can start to reduce the intensity of these thought loops. Rumination isn't random. It has a purpose. Your brain is trying to solve a problem, prevent something from going wrong, or to make sense of a situation. And it also is wanting to protect you from any future mistakes. So it will keep going over the same thoughts and the same thinking. Because what it's trying to do is, if it can figure it out, then it'll make you feel better. But what happens, instead of finding a solution, it creates a loop. Because most of the things that we ruminate on don't have any clear answers. So it's not like a yes or no, it's not black and white. They're based on uncertainty, emotions, and fear. So our brain keeps searching and never really fully lands on any sort of an answer. The reason rumination feels so hard to switch off is because it creates a false sense of control. It feels like you're doing something useful, like you're trying to work things out and you're trying to go through it and, make some sort of reasoning for it all. But at the same time, it increases your anxiety. It keeps your nervous system activated and it drains your mental energy because you're constantly thinking about it, so you suddenly become really, really tired. You might notice same thoughts repeating with no resolution, and you might notice that you start to feel worse the more that you think about it, and you have difficulty focusing on anything else. And then you start to feel the frustration building. Why can't I just stop thinking about this? What is wrong with me? And by you trying to force it away and keep pushing it and pushing it, it usually makes it become so much stronger because your brain sees it as something really important that it needs to sort out. So, you'll be pushing it away and your brain will be springing it back at you. One of the biggest things that keeps rumination going is self-judgment, and you might tell yourself things like, I'm overthinking again. Here I go again. This is stupid. Why am I like this? Why do I keep feeling guilty about these things? I should be able to control these thoughts. And what does that create? Well, it creates more pressure because you're putting more and more pressure on yourself. It creates more frustration because you're thinking about a situation that you can't or have no control over. And it creates more mental noise. So now you're not just stuck in the thought, you're also reacting to the fact that you're thinking about it. And this is where it goes round and round and round. And this also adds another layer to the loop. So the loop gets bigger and it gets stronger. And this is why rumination can feel so exhausting, because it's not just the thoughts, it's the relationship that you have with these thoughts. In therapy sessions, we don't try to switch off the thoughts. We try and change how to respond to them. So this might include things like understanding what your brain is trying to do. So it's trying to protect, it's trying to solve, it's trying to prevent. We look at reducing the urgency and the importance of the thoughts. We also look at breaking the loop with gentle redirection. We don't force it, we just do it gently. And we address the underlying triggers like anxiety or fear or unresolved situations. Some of the simple techniques might include noticing the thought without engaging with it. So thinking about the thought but not actually giving an emotion attached to that thought. We look at grounding your attention in the present moment. So instead of always living in the past, we bring it into the present moment. We write the thought down to create a distance between it and shift it into action instead of analysis. So we don't always analyse what these thoughts are and start breaking it down in that way. As this builds, clients will often notice fewer repetitive thought loops. They notice less anxiety and mental exhaustion. They have more clarity and focus. And they have a better sense of control without it being forced. And what they often say to me is things like, the thoughts are still there sometimes, but they didn't take over and they don't take over anymore. And that is a massive step forward because you don't want them to be taking over and hijacking your mind and your thoughts. If this resonates with you, or you feel that you're in this loop all the time, then try this. The next time you notice a thought loop, say to yourself, this is my brain trying to protect me. I don't need to solve it right now. That small shift can reduce intensity straight away, and it can make you feel better instantly. If you want help breaking free from overthinking and rumination, I work with clients on a one-to-one basis. And the things that we look at is reducing anxiety and thought loops, building mental clarity and focus. And we also look at changing patterns that keep you stuck. And, we look at things like getting you to feel calmer and more in control. Subscribe for more videos about anxiety, overthinking and mental health strategies that actually work. And in the comments, let me know, what is one thought that keeps looping for you? What is that one thing that you notice comes on a loop? I do read every comment and I will give you some tips on how to try it and break free from that. Thank you for watching and thank you for being here. I shall see you all again soon. Bye for now.